I'm firmly of the belief that every casual player, every gaming enthusiast, every historian, every artist or content creator, and hey, everyone else in between, has something to teach you. Thinking about WarThunder recently took me back to the time when I learned that lesson. It was some of the most formative days of my life. Back in high school, I was one of those outcast kids. Everyone kind of left me to my devices. I was the only one who listened to music from before my time, so therefore I thought I was the only one who wasn't just some corporate sheep following the biggest or best trends. I hated the idea of normality. I was of set belief that structure and precision was the way forward. Growing up in a strict family ensured that. I was, sure, a friendly enough guy in conversation, but I didn't once see any of my peers as being equal to me. I had a couple of friends over the high school career, a relationship or two, but I largely missed out on connecting with people. The only real time I had to connect with people was in cadets as a teenager in a paramilitary organisation. Now, I was from the country, no means a social butterfly, but all that changed as I dropped out of high school and moved to trade education. At trade school, I was learning to become an aircraft maintenance engineer, and while as time drew on the task got tedious, when I wanted to get away from the classroom, you'd find me on the balcony of the maintenance facility watching as the other aeronautical engineers worked on airframes, engines and other aircraft componentry. Really, I was just people watching. One day I was running late to class, so I came in late. I apologised as I looked around the room. The only seat that was free was next to my crush at the back of the classroom. She was sitting on a laptop, not really paying attention to what the seminar was about, something to do with aircraft refueling. She was the quiet kind, shy and didn't say much. She was gorgeous as well, and completely out of my league. I had not interacted much with her at all, and I glanced over at what she was doing once or twice during the class. She was playing a game that I'd only seen once or twice on YouTube before. At this time I was only really into League of Legends and World of Tanks, so I was fascinated by this chick sitting next to me who was playing an aviation-based game while sitting in a class learning about the importance of aircraft safety while refueling. And like any curious guy with a crush, you typically get interested enough to try and talk and chat and hang with her, and try and give the best impression you could. Often we would share jokes and small talk, but nothing more. One stormy afternoon I was sitting out in the hangar playing my guitar for a bit when it was pouring down with rain. The feeling is surreal playing music while nature does its thing. After finishing a few chord progressions, I felt a tap on the shoulder. It was my crush. She asked if she could have a go. Sure enough, I gave her my acoustic guitar, but it was something about having an empty aircraft hangar filled with Cessna 152s with the weather howling and the music playing. I'd say we hit it off pretty good. Over the weeks after class, we'd share guitar between us and show off a bit, or we'd hang out with a coffee talking about life's many mysteries, philosophy and that sort of stuff. Like I said, I'd had friends before high school came around, but this was my first time feeling like I had been part of a circle of friends. For the first time I wasn't seeing my classmates as equals, I was looking up to them. This led to so many fantastic memories. I remember one time we had to do a parts and material assessment. We were taking parts of a decommissioned Cessna that had been involved in an accident involving a tree. But the aviation technicians let us work on it as it was considered essential training for parts and familiarisation. As we got to work checking the props, the landing gear and many other things, I decided to take off the prop hub cover, aka the spinner, and place it on my head. I coined it the Cone of Doom. Honestly, it was a good laugh. After trade school, I'd get home and play video games on a terrible laptop that could barely run anything, when one day in theory class my crush asked if I wanted to play this new game. Obviously, I'd seen her play it for a few weeks now, but it looked fantastic fun. It was new, exhilarating, and more importantly, it was interactive. I was instantly hooked. The game was WarThunder. Eventually, we formed our own small friends group where, in the classroom, we'd sit at the back of the class playing a video game related to aviation. Ironic, right? Later, this led to getting my first job, having my first serious relationship, and starting up YouTube. These are all important milestones for me, but I think that year was the most important year of my life in terms of making me the person I am today. It was when I learnt that the world was not full of billions of content sheep. It's a world of people whose lives are just as complicated, nuanced, and exciting as my own. It's all thanks to that moment that I discovered the passion and connection with others that brought us all together. Well, as much as I'd like to say that we still keep in touch today, the party and working world hit us like a ton of bricks. It was intense, and the group soon after fell apart pretty quickly. Few of them dropped out of the aviation to go study other things, and I stopped chatting to them and continued gaming in my free time, and occasionally doing the odd video with a squadron I had recently joined. And here we are today. This is where WarThunder comes in. It reminds me of the good old days, takes me back to when the grass was greener on the other side. It was familiar, something I knew despite the frequent changes in my ongoing life. Sure, it has its issues, too many to list here, but at core functionality it is and still is a great game. It's a game that's captured my curiosity. If it's one thing that I know, it's that everybody has a dream. And while recently I have had reservations about continuing playing and producing content for WarThunder, last year was my dream to be done with WarThunder and move on to other games and take this channel to new levels. As much as I have tried in that regard, the channel just has kind of existed and continued because it's what I knew. It's almost like this age-old question. Have you noticed how the older you get, the less willing you are to try new things and the more paranoid you are? WarThunder is that paranoia, that feeling of being lost, being a bit delusional. The game feels fine, it's just a different game to what it was back then. Rose-coloured glasses and all, the subsequent addition of many other vehicle types and events made the game more and more popular as it drew into other game modes and markets. It reminded me that things do change, and while the game is certainly not perfect, it could use an overhaul to many of its core features. WarThunder as a whole, as another content creator described it, a great game concept executed poorly. And while I have had my fair share of rants here on this channel in the past, all describing frustrations of a video game that I've played for 7 and a bit years now, I'm just sort of sitting here watching the community and other creators know what they're doing, and it makes me feel a bit of an oddball, back to the same feelings when I was in high school. As I started this channel, I began to trade my real-life people skills for online people skills. I'd say that the vast majority of my current friends I know only by their screen name. I love these people, however, it wasn't until an old friend from that former aviation class reached out to talk to me the other day that I remembered what I was missing. Whilst quarantine hasn't really affected me much, hanging out with these people online became a routine as we played a selection of games including WarThunder. But the interaction for nostalgic, and it got really nostalgic for the people I met, for the things I did, and the fun times we had sitting at the back of the classroom playing a game that I still play to this day. WarThunder is more than 1,000 vehicles you can unlock to play. It's a game that represents what we wish could happen to the thing we all love. Whilst it's not the best game, I can still find joy in it sometimes, and quite commonly the people you meet along the way are the people that matter the most. The fun moments and fun interactions, the rare fun that you have, and the moments of pure joy and the feeling of success, it's really what brought us and drew us to this game. Despite its many problems that it will face, and ones that it already has already. For some, WarThunder is a faded past of a game that they have moved on from, and others, we look back at it at regret and some deep sense of feelings that we cannot really describe. For others, we come back because we have invested too much time and money playing a game that we can't give up. But let's be real here, there is no other game like WarThunder. I've often described it as a fun game, but with limited capacity. You could say that as, well, it's a great game with potential to go places, but ultimately you could say that WarThunder is just an arcade simulation at best. To bring it back home for me personally, whilst I'm very proud of this small community, it's a struggle to keep it going. After telling you the story, I wanted to express how much I honestly don't deserve such a community, let alone 20,000 subscribers. And while I am extremely grateful to a lot of you who have actually done a hell of a lot for my personal gain, quite often I've thought about my purpose on this planet. I've been a firefighter, aircraft engineer, and I've spent the last 5 years of my life hiding away and avoiding people, failing to find full-time work, and struggling to get by as a human being. I've ruined a hell of a lot of relationships, and I can't really say that I have a lot of accomplishments, but for certain, I can't really tell you what I'm proud of either. So what is WarThunder about? Honestly, I can't answer. Maybe it's about the connections to people, learning about history. Maybe it's about having fun. For me, WarThunder reminds me of the nostalgic times, and to this day, WarThunder was nothing but a place where time did not pass, where I could wait for that revelation and those goals that I dreamt up to come. And now the wait is over. It's time to do something. Go repair those relations. Go and learn something new and have fun playing video games.